Hey class, so we're going to talk about your next essay really quickly. So this one's going to be asking us to think about um, art within our world, right? So this is going to push us to kind of critically think about how our texts are demonstrating different things that happen within society, right? So make sure you look at the dates of when the rough draft and the peer reviews are going to be due, and then the final draft. So this will require us to submit a rough draft, and then it'll go through a peer review process. All of that will be within Canvas. Um, and for that rough draft, you only need to have 2 pages, whereas the final draft will obviously be much longer. So just a quick overview. So we have started reading literature heavily saturated in controversial representations of race, nationality, identity, and or gender, sometimes intersecting, right? So you're going to choose 1 or 2 of the readings that we have reviewed so far this semester. I highly, recommend if you're struggling with word count, you can talk about 2, but make sure you're choosing texts that speak to similar themes. Don't choose one text that's about gender that you're going to look at and then one text about race. You want to make sure that whatever text you're choosing to connect are going to be kind of looking at those themes side by side, right? Similar themes. So, you do not want to write about the play or the novel in this, okay? The other thing you are not going to write about is whatever poem you chose to write about for essay 1. You are going to make sure that you are choosing a new text you have not written an essay about yet. And you're going to analyze the way the text is discussing the issue of your choice that you see appearing, right? So these issues are really kind of like motifs, right? Single words, right? We're wanting to figure out what the theme is. What is the text demonstrating about these topics, right? So you can focus on multiple issues as long as you recognize the significance of the intersectionality. So if you're talking about gender and race, right? What is there being shown about gender and race together, right? For maybe like women of color or men of color, right? Or women who are white, men who are white, whatever. However, you're focusing on this intersection, right? So in looking at these texts, for the way in which they portray a major topic, such as the ones listed above, you're strengthening your critical thinking skills, right? While thinking about it in the world it's created in, right? Because nothing's created in a vacuum. Everything's created within our larger world that we live in day to day, right? Which is why literature is like a little slice, a little snippet into humanity, right? This is why it builds our critical thinking skills so well. So for the prompt, you're going to write a 1,500 to 1,900 word essay, and you need a minimum of 2 outside sources, a maximum of 4. I do not want to see you using more than 4 because I do want there to still be a lot of analysis in this, like in your first essay, all right? Now, I mean, if for whatever reason you just find a 5th source that you're like, wow, I just have to include it, you need to communicate with me, okay? So just make sure you're talking to me. So you're going to focus on 1 to 2 texts to argue your point. This essay is meant for you to explore the way literature is used to address relevant ongoing issues within society in relation to human identity and categorization. You must ensure that your thesis is arguing something specific about the way the text is addressing race, nationality, identity, or gender. Don't let your thesis be too general, right, or too vague. I kind of mentioned up here, right? You can focus on the positives, the negatives, the multifaceted nature, social injustices, etc., right? So what is going on? What is the text demonstrating? Is it reinforcing gender roles? Is it resisting or critiquing gender roles? Is it revealing the hardships that maybe a woman of color experiences in comparison to something else, right? Is it talking about assimilation, right? Identity as an American, but as an immigrant or a child of immigrants, right? Like what's being explored here? What's being talked about? So note, you do not want to veer off from the literature. So I don't want you to go on a side tangent about the US and race, or about the world and gender and like how patriarchy, so whatever, right? We're not doing that. We are focusing our argument on the literature, and you are focusing on what the literature is demonstrating. Whether it's reinforcing something, critiquing something, that's up to you to decide, but it's all about the literature, okay? So since this is a literature course, right, you should be examining what you see in the literature. And for best results, you'll find critical sources from our library databases. So make sure you're reviewing our library resources page in our modules. Ask me any questions, review our library resource page as well. So not just our module resource page, but in our module resource page, there's a link into Golden West's English 110 critical thinking resources, right? And it has a lot of supporting details in there. So please review that. So to do well, you want to start with a hook, right? A general statement. You have to introduce your primary text in the intro, which means the literature of your choice's title and author by first and last name. After that first introduction, you switch only to last name, right? So if you're reviewing a text through a theory, then you need to make sure that that's clear in your intro as well, right? Maybe you're using feminist theory or race theory or something like that, right? You don't have to, but you can. You kind of organically are already, but if you're wanting to actually comment on it or pull resources or research from use like our critical theory textbook as a source, you can. You have to have a fully developed thesis, right, that connects to this prompt. So it should be addressing what the literature is demonstrating about gender, race, identity, nationality, right? Be sure your introductory sentences are like mini thesis statements. Your topic sentences to each paragraph needs to introduce what the whole paragraph is going to be about. Ensure your body paragraphs provide strong analysis. Make sure that you're integrating your quotes. Review MLA format for that, right? You want to directly quote from your texts, your primary text, but don't spend too much time summarizing the primary text. You can assume your reader has read the primary text. You cannot assume that your reader has read your secondary research sources, okay? You want to make sure you're remaining on topic. Whatever your thesis is, that's the heart and soul. Everything needs to connect back to that. Have a conclusion that is memorable, global, shed some insight. You know, a title that's creative other than essay, whatever. Make sure you're writing out loud, checking your grammar, taking it to the tutoring resources. If you need that extra support, remember it's worth extra credit to get it peer reviewed by a tutor. Adhere to MLA format, write in an academic tone, so third person, no I believes, no I thinks. Your paper will be stronger if you delete those. No we's, no us, avoid all of that as well. 2 to 4 outside sources. Use our library database. That is going to be your best starting point. Going into Google, you're going to find sources that are not related to the literature, and often that's how students will veer away from the literature. We also don't want to only summarize the literature. We want to make sure we're always connecting it back to that argument, right? And then make sure you're hitting the word count. If you're struggling to hit the word count, besides adding another source, my suggestion is always to bring in another example. What's another example that we can think about from our text? Maybe if you're really struggling, you can ask a tutor, or you can ask me to help look over your work and point to areas that need a little more expanding, need a little more details. And I'd be happy to do that. So don't hesitate to reach out with any questions or concerns. You've absolutely got this. We have a little bit more time for this essay. So make sure that you're working on that rough draft and participating in that peer review.